Oh, sookie now. Hell yeah. I know my dogs are watching, and if you ain't, I know you will be. And if you are watching and you ain't my dog yet, you will be, because I'm Swede and I'm here to help you get busy living. What's that? That's one epic adventure every single month for the next 47 months. We're going to go 55 in a row, y'all. I did 54 once. I'm going to do 55 this time. I'm beating that former streak. But tonight, we're going to look back at how far we've come and about that one phone call that got stars in my eyes. But first, since nothing is worth having if it ain't worth sharing, please allow me to intro my co-pilot on this journey, an entrepreneur out of Los Angeles and one of my all-time favorite humans, ladies and gentlemen, the dazzling Diana D. Rex Eckstein.
I did that.
I love the trumpet.
Oh, thank
What
you
did
for
you
the
do?
trumpet. Oh, I had that little laugh and clap sometimes when I feel like I need a little boost.
Yeah, I love it. I love it too. And they're there with us. They were clapping for us.
Yes,
You know who else?
absolutely.
You know who else is there with us?
I can see a few people here with us.
Talk to me.
I see Sammy Dickerson, who was here first.
Sammy, what is up, my man? We got a phone call in our future, brother.
Oh, we have Tasha here.
Hey, girl. Hey, are you with Kalia? Is there a Kalia in the house? Is there an Amelia in the house? Do we have some other girls in the house with you, Tasha? Me and the girls are here. Hell yeah. What's up, Kelly? So, ladies and gentlemen, if you remember Kelly, she's our vegan queen. Welcome back, Kelly. My man Pete Mitchell is in the house. What is up? Oh my God, it's so funny. I used to call Pete Gramps when I first started kicking it with him because we hung out all night one night, and then I found out he was like a year older than me, and I was like, "What? I thought you were younger than me. You're like my grandfather." I called him that for years after that. What's up, Pete? Thanks for showing up with us, man. D-Rex,
I would say hi to Smiles there. You missed that
Smiles.
one.
What is up, man? My bad. How can you miss Smiles? He's about 17 feet tall and 4 feet wide.
That's true. A giant presence physically and what's the word I'm looking for? Like in the vibe.
Oh man, that's why we call him Smiles, because that dude, I mean, that grin, you can see it from a mile away. I love it. Yeah, seriously though, go ahead.
Oh, speaking of vibey people, didn't we want to talk about Schaefer right out the door, right out the gates?
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought it up right away, because guys, seriously, man, we're going to be looking back today, but we want to look right now at somebody that's doing it, whether we're doing it or not, man. This dude is fighting, and I love the fight in this guy. You guys probably remember my man Schaefer. So let me just go ahead and bring him in here. Oops, that's
we have all sorts of things go. Whoa.
Here we go.
I get you to keep your crutch out in front of
you. Get it safe.
Always help you balance, okay? Now, don't step in the other box, please, until you get closer. Get closer with your feet. There you go. Now you're ready.
Obviously, she's coaching him up, and man, look.
Look how hard this guy tries.
Well, you know what? All of these ones are hard.
So that one's the hard one.
And you know what? I mean, just look how he just tries without judgment of himself.
I need you to try.
Yeah?
Exactly. And that's why I love the fire. And what we're trying to do is inspire people to do what children do naturally, right? Remember when we were that age, when we had no fear about what we were going to be when we grew up. We just dreamt about it, and we just knew that it could happen, you know? And so that's why I take such pride in this cause, man. And, you know, it's so easy to root for Schaefer.
I just love what you just said. The way that we tackle things as a child. And I mean, Schaefer's just like any other kid in that way, just tackling things and knowing that they can happen. And I think that's something that we kind of forget to do as adults. And I think it perfectly ties into everything we're going to be talking about today. And I wonder why it is we do lose touch with that. Look at this guy.
No, he's just going like
one after another. He doesn't say no.
I was texting with Lori today, and I was like, man, I was holding my breath watching. Like I was like,
Uh-huh.
I've watched this video like 6 times.
It's
It's awesome.
amazing. And I mean, for anybody here who doesn't really know who Schaefer is or why we're showing this video, Schaefer is one of the first people we want to help get stem cell treatment to. We're really excited to do this. We're really driven to do this. We really feel that it can help him get further faster.
Absolutely.
But he is doing the work. This is a guy who deserves it.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it, D-Rex. And look, just when you think it can't get any better.
Come on, you can do it. You're doing exactly right. Big step.
Get it shaved. Get it shaved.
Look at that. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, when you catch your foot's when you're going to fall, okay? Now, here's the hard one. Wait, don't do it from so far away. Get the crutch up a little bit. Okay, this is a hard one. You have to bring your knee clear high. Try
I like how he had to test it out there first.
All right,
He was like, let me check that out.
Hold on, get this one settled in here, okay? Now don't go until I let go of you. Okay, ready? This is hard. Lift. No.
Get it.
No hand. Here we go. Pick it up.
Nice.
There.
Good job.
Same thing. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that dude.
Look at
that dude.
Same thing coming
Who does not
Did
want to
it.
help this guy get all
your crutch a little bit
the
better.
forward movement he can get? Like, it's going to be so fun when we can
Here, use the
say
crutch.
to him, it's time for your stem cell treatment. It's okay.
It's hard.
Funded by the Get Busy Living program, funded by Help Swede Walk Again. And let's take a second before we dive into today's subject. Let's take a second to remind people that if you would like to go to the Help Swede Walk Again organization and donate, hey, there it is. There it is underneath. So you can do that at any point. You can set up recurring donations that are small, but they add up, and they're going to help Schaefer get his stem cell treatment. And that's
Let
going to
me
be the
give you a
most
little bit of
exciting
background.
day.
Absolutely. So the background for those of you that haven't been with us before, if there's for the new viewers that we know we're going to see this eventually. So I was bedridden for 10 months. Didn't get out of bed once. The only time I moved out of that bed was onto a stretcher to go into an ambulance to go to the hospital for a little while, and I got right back into that bed. And during that time, I was just like relentless about searching for some sort of hope. And I read a book by Dr. Neil Riordan, who is the founding doctor of the Stem Cell Institute, which is one of the world's most renowned stem cell clinics in Panama. And I read his book, and that's where I got hope from. And honestly, man, that inspired me to go back to school. And school has been a huge part of my progress thus far. And I'm just that the whole vision of the Get Busy Living podcast is just to be a voice for the HSWA, which, if you're not familiar with my story, when I got injured 5 years ago, my friends came together while I was in a coma, started this Facebook page called Help Swede Walk Again. I woke up 2 weeks later out of a coma, and I had been rescued literally from death, paralyzed from the chest down, in a whole new country, surrounded by friends. And so a few years later, with the help of my team, who is just relentless, and D-Rex, and we're going to talk about how you joined the team. Those people that helped me get rescued, I now have a new purpose in life, and it's to repay the debt of human kindness that was bestowed upon me when I woke up out of that coma. And so I believe that stem cells are my saving grace if I have one. And I believe that if I want them, that I feel like, because I've already been given the gift of life again, that I need to help others before I turn the attention towards helping myself. And so we have nominations at the hswa.org, where you can send any nominations of anyone that you feel deserves that type of help that I received. Believe me, it's the humblingest thing when you find out that you really, I did a foolish thing. And, I've been labeled a monkey chaser for a reason. And when you know that you can do something foolish and people still want to keep you around, man, it's the most humbling thing. And the gratitude just flows out of me. And so I want to be able to repay it. And if you know anyone that you would like to see uh, have this type of human kindness bestowed upon them, just let us know, you know? So Schaefer's our guy. We know for sure that stem cells can help him. And we know for sure that he's doing his best to help himself. And so this is a guy that that we're rooting for.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to help out the cause, go to the hswa.org. You know, you can go to the recurring donations, $1 a month, you know, accumulates. And the money that we are raising is we're going to be distributing it through several different causes. All that stuff is going to be transparent, obviously, because we're officially designated through the IRS. So your donations are tax deductible. So right now we're at the stage where we're perfecting this podcast craft, working on the nonprofit in the background. And as we continue to dedicate ourselves to this, what are we talking about, DRX? We're talking about how much you can accomplish in a year. Because 1 year ago, 1 year ago.
One year ago, you know what? Can I say what happened a year ago?
By all means, please do.
Okay. So, I mean, we had already been friends basically our whole life, but we were a little bit out of touch. But I kept having this nagging feeling like, you got to call Swede. You got to call him. I got to call this guy. I just was kind of plagued by this idea. I got to call you, which is weird for me because I don't like calling anybody. I don't. I'm not a phone person. I do not like calling people. And I was just kind of obsessed with this idea, like, I got to call you, you know? And then I saw that you had put up an update on Facebook around a year ago, around exactly this time. You had just gotten the Swede Mobile. You just got your new van.
The Get Busy Buggy, dun dun dun.
And you're driving around in this van. And I was like, oh, I knew something was happening with him. Because this van is super important to your journey. You know, there's been a lot of really important things along this journey, but this was really one of those turning points. You want to talk about how this van has changed things for you?
Well, first of all, I live in Gilbert, which is one of the burbs of Phoenix, and it is hot as hell here. I don't ever want to go to hell if it's hotter than here. Trust that. And being confined to a power wheelchair, I don't get to get in and out of this chair and get in and out of cars. I can't just jump in a ride, so I have to get a special vehicle. And so I was relying on buses and trains for like a year and a half after I got out of the facility because there was a program through Lyft and Uber where they had these types of vehicles that could transport me. But in March of 2020, about 6 months after I got my wheelchair and was out, after I started getting around town, that got, the subsidies, I guess, went away, and they stopped doing it. Like you can request it on the app, but they just don't show up. They just never. So you sit there and wait for them to tell you, "Oops, your driver, was lost. Please try again." It's the most ridiculous.
It is not easy. It's not easy for people in wheelchairs to get around. In fact, speaking of Kiro, hi.
What's up, dog?
When you and Kiro came out to LA, and you were going to watch a Steelers game at SoFi Stadium, and I went to meet up with you guys, and you had gotten this hotel that was near the airport, and it was kind of like nearly impossible to get around, right? That's not like you would think near the airport you could get things that you need, not LA. Like the airport's a dead zone, and we decided we were just going to meet at the stadium. And to just get to the Jamaican restaurant near the stadium, you still had to like wait for a ride. It wasn't easy. It was so difficult just for you to get to the Steelers game.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that I don't fly, because even though getting on a plane is not hard, they because of the laws, and thank God for activisms, because of the ADA laws, they can't charge us more, and they have to store our chairs. So I drive my chair up to the plane, and then they have this special little wheelchair that I'm supposed to fit in that will take me, down the aisle, and they kind of have to help me, and so it's a big, huge pain in the ass. But it's worth it to fly. I'm going to fly. I'm not going to be landlocked, but everywhere I go, it's difficult to get around there. So getting this vehicle was not easy. I put years and spent thousands of phone calls to get it. And I did qualify for it through a government program. So that's part of my motivation to do this and spread the word that I'm available for help. I talk about it on my social media regularly. That I don't get calls very often asking for anything but advice, but I do get calls regularly. People just kind of like running things by me, and I welcome it. I really want to be a servant. I really feel like my first lease on life. I kind of ran through it. My proudest accomplishment is my wonderful daughter. She makes me proud every time I see her post or hear her voice. I'm just so blown away by how even keeled she is and how she's just like also chugging through life the way I am. She's taken lots of hits herself and overcome a lot of adversity. And I'm just so proud of her. But my first lease on life, I was on a tropical island. I feel like I had done it, man. I was ready to just be like Jimmy Buffett and grow old playing my guitar during the sunset every day, But I really wasn't doing anything for anyone else. And so this second lease on life, I really feel like I want to just be available and try to help people as much as I possibly can, And that's why I'm doing this, because I know that if we can together develop a large enough voice, that we can benefit a lot of people just by building a community, really.
Can I back up and talk more about your van?
The van.
Okay, because all of that is important. But the thing about this van is it was a turning point in a couple of ways, where it allowed you to get wherever you needed to go on time and not have to rely on others. It was a huge step forward for you. And even Tasha says here, that van has been a major part of Swede and myself. We spent so many hours driving, so many places, getting lost in time. Look at those experiences that wouldn't have happened without this van. And so I saw this video of you driving around in your new van. And I was like, I knew I should have called him. I knew something was going on. Yeah.
I just gotten it. Jerry was recording. We did a live video before you and I'd ever done a live podcast together. We did a live video on Facebook of me getting the keys and driving off. It was awesome.
So I had this gut instinct that I really need to get in touch with you. So I saw that video and I was like, I gotta call him, and I called you. And that was the moment we got kind of back in touch. And we were both free to talk about actually you doing this podcast. And we started brainstorming about how you might go about it. And I was going to help you with your branding. But I was like, your project, And it finally got to the point where you were like, oh, you want to be on it? I was like, I don't think so. And you were like, yeah, you should be on it. And I was like, okay. So then we started talking about doing the podcast together. And I thought you were going to say, let's start this podcast in January. But you said, no, September. And it was August. So
there's a master plan. Okay.
Yeah. There was a reason that you wanted to start in September, but I really didn't feel like we were ready to start. But all of this stuff started just snowballing. We started a podcast all of a sudden. We started going live. And from me just calling you in May to September, we're suddenly on a podcast talking to the world. Now, that's a big change alone in less than 6 months. Yeah. But if you think about last May to this May, incredible changes have happened in our life, mostly because we went after things in a childlike way, like you were explaining earlier, like how a child goes after things. And somehow, I don't think we ever lost that childlike enthusiasm for life, me and you. Yeah. And maybe that's why this worked for us. But we went after it because we knew it was possible. We didn't think about how we might fail or what could go wrong. We just kept going. And here we are. And how many episodes are we in now?
Oh, give or 37, give or take one. Something like that.
It's so weird what you can get done in a year if you just go after it without fear.
Yeah. the inspiration behind it, I wanted, like I said, I want to try to collect the power of generosity and pay it forward, because that what you give, you get back double, no matter what. In all cases, I've learned that about life. If it's good or bad or indifferent, if you give indifference, you're going to receive it, enough to make you regret it if you're paying attention. And I love that you were fearless. I mean, I did have to kind of coerce you a little bit for sure.
You
But
twist my arm a bit because I'm not an on-camera person, but I am now.
your hesitance was not about being fearful, though. You just didn't see yourself that way. And honestly, when I was trying to come up with something that was going to be, I had two things that were really important. It needed to have an unlimited income potential, which I truly believe that this does. And it had to be broad enough of a path for everybody to walk it with me. So whether it was going to be writing and including people in the story, or some way of sharing. And obviously, seeing that video that was recorded while I was in Tacoma, where I told everyone that if they helped me out of that jam, I would throw them a huge party. I have to be able to afford to throw that party,
Yeah.
and so I went back to school, and my graduation, because of some hangups, I got to admit, man, I'm not perfect, and I'm not impervious to setbacks, and I've had some. And so my graduation date, I would have graduated 4 years solid through all the stuff I've been through with all the hospitalizations if I would have been able to graduate this month. But I've had setbacks, so I'm going to be able to graduate this fall.
So would you call that a failure? I wouldn't. Oh, you're going to graduate with all these degrees. It's like, just because it's a few months later, is that really a failure? Is it really that bad?
Well, if anybody that hears this now, please go back to the first one. We're only 37 in, and catch up, and you'll notice some repeating themes, but some contradictions depending on if you're looking at it from, if you're looking at something from 30,000 feet, the earth is small, but if you're looking at it from your surroundings, we're very insignificant, right? So it depends on how you look at it. Would I call it a failure? Only if you look at it in the respect that failure is a necessary step in success. Then I would say, yeah, I did fail to graduate. But you know what? What I've learned through that not graduating yet is that if you just believe and you keep falling forward, then I'll get there. I'm not quitting. I may have failed to graduate on time as far as what I had set out originally, but I'm not. I wrote an email today, and I included the document with the proposal. That in that proposal, I said that I have, had some setbacks, but the only thing that's going to stop me from graduating this fall is going to be some serious health issues. And if that's the case, then my health and well-being will be a bigger concern to me than school. But I don't have a doubt in my mind. I did not. So
what would you say you learned in this past year about setbacks?
I learned that they don't affect you because you've been here when I haven't been able to. You've been there just about every time. I mean, in your realm doing this show, I've had many, many different backgrounds. I've had my dome light in my van on my face.
You had your dome light go out while you were podcasting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like this. Forward is forward, no matter your speed. That is true. You know what? I'd like to ask people who are here to jump in the comments section about something like a major change that you've had in your life over the period of 1 year. Because 1 year, if you think about it, it can either be a really long time or it can be a really short time, depending on how you think about it. But one thing I do know is that major changes can happen within 1 year.
Hell yeah, this is proof. Look, I'm not trying to sit here and tell our current and future audience that we've made it big. I'm just telling you that we are not stopping. If you don't know yet, know this. We are not going to stop. We're going to help this kid. We're going to help each other. We're going to grow this community. We're going to throw this huge party, and we're going to get busy living in the process. What does it mean to get busy living? Ha ha ha, you ask. my nonprofit consultant, my nonprofit consultant told me that I needed to be able to articulate that so that people can learn it in an elevator. Well, it's quite simple. It's living a purposeful, deliberate, intentional life. It's not sitting there and letting life happen to you. It's about deciding what you want and mapping out a way to get it. And just don't be afraid of the things that are going to stop you in the process. Don't be afraid of what could possibly happen that could be a setback. Just be worried about what you need to do to take the next step. And look,
go ahead.
It's only one step at a time. Jerry JFT says all the time, one bite. Eat elephants, one bite at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said to just go forward with a plan. And I actually am going to come from a different angle here. And I'm going to say, follow your gut instincts. And sometimes planning is overrated. Sometimes you don't worry about the how.
Did you just blow my hair back? I thought I'd never hear you say that. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 2023 version of Diana Eckstein.
Maybe I've learned something this year.
Love it.
But sometimes you don't worry about the how. You just keep working toward this feeling that you have that this needs to happen. And somehow it all seems to come together. Somehow you meet all the right people. Somehow the road appears before you. And I can't say I can explain why or how. And I'm sure that anybody who's here might want to tell a story of their own about how that happened for them. Just keeping your eye on the horizon and things just start to happen for you. You have a belief in something that can happen and it's all just coming together in front of your face. How? I don't know, but are you going to say no to that?
You just got to believe, man. I've been saying it. I'm not ever going to stop saying it. You got to believe. Don't worry, just believe. And man, I'm telling you, this platform and this camera and this light makes it look way better than it is. I've been struggling, man. I'm struggling. My emotions, I feel like a woman going through menopause. I have had setbacks. This not graduating in time, honestly, has hurt my feelings a little bit, and it's, it'll knock you off your course when you get told you got a brain injury.
Well, see, that's why I was forcing you to say that it wasn't a failure. It's not a failure. It just hasn't happened yet. And that brain injury thing, that's a huge thing to deal with. So
I'm trying to Joe Dispenza it. I'm trying to tell it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's not there.
So man, let me just take you back to Rex. Okay. I love that you wanted to mention this. Okay. We are talking, it is the Get Busy Buggy anniversary. And we are talking about what happened in this past year. A year ago when you hit me up, I'll never forget this. I remember the way that my house was arranged when I was having this conversation with you. And I told you that I had been going through it and that I had a way bigger belly than I'd ever had in my life. And you're like, what? And you looked, I remember the startled look on your face.
I cried.
You were like, why? Like you're like you know me and you know better than that. And why the hell am I allowing this? And that was a wake-up call for me. Like, wow, she believes that I'm better than that. And why do I, and the truth is that, like a woman going through menopause, I love you women. I'm not a menopause hater. We get finer with wine. But to be emotional like that is new territory for me. And
you know what? For me too. Me too.
So we're going on.
Yeah.
You introduced to me, you were like, you just need to ask, Swede. You just don't really even understand what people see. You just need to ask. And the word I heard recently from one of my all-time favorite humans was powerful. And I don't know that I feel that way about myself, but you told me to ask. You just ask for things that you really want, but ask in the right way, like you believe that you're going to get them. Like there's a larger thing that we can't explain. So I can't explain it to you. I just believe in it. And so I started asking, and I got to admit that I go in and out of my levels of conviction with this particular belief system. But man, it seems like every time I tune back in, things start falling into place. So that comes from the Joe Dispenza. He put the science to your theory. So right after you said that, I started asking, and I get a call from my man Gary in Australia, and he's like, "Sweet," he's like, "Man, I've been thinking about you, just like you just said. I've been thinking about you. We need to catch up. You got to check this out." He told me to look into Dr. Joe Dispenza. I looked into him.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, I've listened to his audio, his most recent book. I've listened to it 2.5 times, and I've understood and become a believer in the science that he applies to this theory about how we can communicate through other ways that are nonverbal and beyond us even being able to see each other. When somebody is ultra pissed walks into the room, you don't even need to see them walk into the room. You can just feel that there's somebody ultra pissed in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, no doubt. You can feel people's energy. You can feel somebody looking at you across the room. There's something more than we have measured yet. I put Dr. Joe Dispenza's name up there in case anybody wants to check him out. There's plenty of YouTube videos of him being interviewed that you can really get the sense of what he's about. But he believes in the power of your mind. He thinks that, if you can use the power of your mind and make yourself sick, then you should be able to make yourself well. And he healed himself from an injury. And he's one of the world leaders in this kind of thought process. So if you want to check him out, definitely there's tons of YouTube videos. You don't even have to read anything, guys. You can just check it out. So Swede and I really kind of got into listening to Joe Dispenza a lot that last summer. And I think it also kind of helped us solidify our beliefs that we could do this thing. We could start this podcast. We could help people. And here we are in May. And because we put effort into this, we have moved much, much forward from just talking about it. Plenty of people talk about that business they want to start or that book they want to write. And if you just put just a little effort into it every single day, you end up somewhere. You end up way further than if you just sit there and you could talk about it all day for the rest of your life. But it's action. And we put some action into this thing. And the reason we're talking about this today is because, well, first of all, the Swedemobile, so it's the 1-year anniversary. But just so much has happened in this past year. And we want to talk about all the things that we have learned. And I've asked you to create a list, and I've created a little list. And I also just have kind of some questions I want to ask because I really don't even know what I'm going to answer. So let's talk about some of these trips we've been on. We weren't planning on going on trips when I called you to say, hey, congratulations on your van and let's chat. It's not like we were lining up all these trips, but we ended up on all these trips. So let's just pick one. Like the first one, when you got me to fly out to Arizona and go to a concert with you on a whim.
Overnight.
It was like the very next day. And the flight went all wrong once again. And but somehow we got to that concert. And it was a very inspiring concert. And many things of coincidence happened there too, where it's just like, there's something to this coincidence thing. And we just keep following coincidences and our gut feelings, And everything's just been kind of like magically happening every time we let it magically happen, And I think that's kind of what I learned on that trip is just say yes. And, I had my eye on, I'm going to get there. I didn't have any doubt that I would get there. And just go for it, And it was great.
I remember when I first hit you with it, you unloaded like maybe even in one sentence all the reasons why there was no way you were going to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like,
no.
well, hold on a second, wait a minute. Now think about this and think about that, and you're like being real with yourself, and you're like, okay, all right then. And I was like, you were like, no, you're like, this is what it was. I remember now. You're like, no, think about all of the things that we need to accomplish because we have this thing that we're doing. We got like a couple weeks to like do this thing, you know. And I'm like, I think you were like wanting me to go back through my media to look for some sort of like inspirational content, you know. And I was like, what? You're like, that will get us, you know. I was like, what is going to get us closer to the prize than you actually putting to play what message we're trying to send here? To don't worry, just do it, you know. Just do it. Just get busy living. Have this heart and this spirit where when opportunity knocks, man, answer the damn door. Look, I'm not telling everybody that you have to go on a vacation once every
Yeah,
single
it's not really about the trips. It's about the spirit of it, right?
It's about the spirit of it. Yes. It's not about being busy while you're alive. It's about getting it. Man, Scooty Wells, bro, we got to get Scooty Wells and JFT back on here. D-Rex, I propose that we get you guys all back in here, because you know what's happening here is there is more than just D-Rex and I putting this thing together. My life is heavily dependent on others. So what have I learned in the last year? I've learned that this podcast takes a lot more people than just me and you. In my life, I'm heavily dependent on others. I've got a house full of people that help me. On any given day, I've got people over here helping me, and I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to get this camera in the right place. I wouldn't be able to get any of the stuff behind me. I mean, you know, Brother Doug and JFT and Caro and Denise and Aunt Mags and Uncle Rich, and then Summer and Paloma and Hannah and Kelly. The list goes on and on and on. You know, of people that I would not be here without, and people that continuously help me with this. I mean, I've learned who will be here to help me. And not saying that people that haven't helped so far aren't here if I need them, but I've learned, you know, that there are people that I can rely on right here in the city to help me make this happen.
You do. You have a large team of friends, and we all have to be so thankful for that every single day. Wow. Oh, yeah. You want to read this comment from Sammy? Now, this is here. Can you actually read that? Because I have only one contact lens in.
Yeah, it says, I'm a 2-time cancer survivor. First time I lost my leg, hip, and kidney. Second time I lost an eye. It humbled me. I get it. Totally messed with my head. Still dealing with it. Wow, Sammy. That's powerful, bro. That's powerful. So I wasn't aware to that extent. I knew that you had challenges. So Sammy is going to put his hand in the pile. You know, we have a conversation coming up. And, you know, we're really trying to build a community of people that are putting their hand in the pile and helping us, you know, just collect the collective generosity. You know, if the first 5 years of this project is all people just putting their hand in the pile and we don't raise a bunch of money, but we're all helping each other get busy living, I'd be happy with that. You know, there's a reason that we had to start quickly. And although it's quite possible that could all be for naught if we break the streak. But so for those of you that don't know, when I was deciding to do this by the idea of Lyric to do podcasting and D-Rex to do live streaming and putting this all together, I was trying to think of a hook, you know, like something to keep the attention. And that's when I came up with the fact that when I got injured, I was supposed to go on a New Year's Eve epic adventure. And that would have marked my 55th month in a row of at least one epic adventure every single month. And I thought, what a better way to try to keep people interested and keep people involved than to try to beat that streak. And this time, instead of me going on these trips alone, each month bringing somebody with me somehow. You know, and luckily by the kindness and the generosity of those around me, I've been able to have people on me each one of these months. So the goal was, if we start in September of 2022, I would be able to beat the streak the month of my 50th birthday. 55 months in a row, beats the streak, and I turned 50 that month. And that's quite a feat since I'm only 21 right now. How I'm going to pull that off.
You know, I don't know if you're ever going to get to 50, so I really don't know how this is going to work.
Well,
at this point,
don't tell me
maybe
that,
it's going to have to be when I get to 50.
Aha! Actually, it would be 56. But who's counting?
So I just want to say that, look at all this that Sammy has dealt with so far, and he still wants to stick his hand in the pile. He still wants to be like, yeah, I want to be on this train. I want to make this happen. And I just, to see something like that, it's just so wonderful. It's like he's dealing with a whole bunch of stuff, but he still wants to be in this tribe. He still wants to make this happen.
As if that's not good enough. A man that's like been through so much and is still willing to donate his time and efforts. That makes me melt. But you know what else makes me melt?
Yeah, but do you read what's right under that? She wants her hands in the pile, and then she said, "What's the pile?" That's like when you get the Christmas present. I love it. What is it?
I'll tell you all about it in July. So for those of you that don't know, this May is month 7, 8, 9. And I haven't done anything. Well, actually, I have done epic stuff already this month, but
sure.
I'm looking forward to, I got a special visitor coming to see me this weekend, and we're gonna consummate the 9th month. I mean, we're gonna make it official by going on doing something epic this month, and she doesn't know what it is yet, but I'm looking forward to surprising her.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what's going to be epic about this trip. I have no idea. I've been wondering.
Oh, sometimes the irony and the beauty of life.
So, okay, there were some things I was going to ask you. The whole point of doing this was to think about what we've gotten done in the past year and what we've learned. And I've asked you to think of a couple things that you have learned, and I'll talk about a couple things that I have learned, and then we'll just discuss. Okay, so I guess that what I've really learned is to follow my gut instincts and pay more attention to coincidences. Because I feel like every time we travel, like things go wrong for me. Like flights always go wrong for me for some reason. But it's always just like, I just trust in it, I'm going to get there. And it's always a really great time. It always really expands my view of friendships, and the tribe that you've built for yourself has been so inspirational. Just seeing how strong your friendships are, and how that's really more important in life than almost anything else, is building a strong tribe of people who are wanting the best for others.
I just got chills.
I was like, did you go somewhere? Where'd you go?
That is so profound in my mind. I have truthfully dedicated my life to my friendships.
Mm-hmm.
I told myself something when I was really young, and I convinced myself of it, and I've believed it ever since. At some point along the line, I figured out that I thought I figured out, I guess you could say, that everything you're ever going to gain or everything you're ever going to lose that's truly valuable, you're going to gain from another person or lose to another person. So I told myself when I was younger, if I could figure out people that I would give myself an opportunity to maximize my gains and minimize my losses. And so I started reading books about people. Coincidentally, I went back to school shortly after this. In this stage of my life, when I was, really seeking, somebody offered me a job, and they told me that I needed to get a degree in order to earn that job. So I went to the local university and found out that there was a degree there for music. And my brother had recently introduced me to the guitar, and so I wanted to learn, how to play the guitar. And so I wanted to get better at it, and they had a music degree there, and it falls under the humanities umbrella. So my first degree is actually a humanities degree. And
that makes sense.
And since going to school there and learning, I've been prodded to learn about what humans were doing before, we had technology, meaning natural in nature, and all the things we've been doing since, language and music and dance and inventions and society now that we have. But there was a time when we were just communities of animals living, in the plains, just like there's communities of cows, and like there's communities of horses, and and dogs and elephants and all these other different animals that just live in nature. At one time, humans were just like that, you know.
Mhm.
And I've studied all that kind of stuff, throughout my life, and I really do believe that that saved my life. Social media and the friends that I've made along the way. Social media made it possible to reach out to them, and the
Mhm.
friends that I made along the way. You guys all just really came in strong for me, man. Like seriously, I seriously.
So I
So
think that it is an important thing for me to learn is just kind of watch you and your friendships and your whole tribe that you've built, and allowing me to just jump in there and be in it. It's like you're just so open about that kind of thing, and that's how we all need to be. We need to be open about connecting with others. And I don't think I really made my point about the main thing that I learned, and that's that there's going to be setbacks. Boy, did we have some setbacks in the past year. Let's just name 3.
well, I've been hospitalized several times.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I've missed
you know,
planes.
I've been locked out of my house.
Okay, yeah, okay, so that's 3. So there's been more. Just trust
Surely,
us. Okay. But
surely.
okay, how about when we went and built an entire trip around going skiing and didn't get to go skiing, you know okay.
Yeah.
So what I learned here is that you just keep your eyes on the horizon, and you get on the steamroller of fun. And you steamroller over everything, and you just have fun the whole way. You're heading toward that dot in the horizon, your goal.
Yes. The thing is, if you can fixate on that, on something in the future that you believe in, that you want, that you truly deserve, that's your purpose. If you can fixate on that, and you can convince yourself that it's worth it, and it's something that you truly do want, and it can, then the things that happen to you along the way, you got to deal with them. Don't just let your problems accumulate in your wake and leave a path of destruction behind you. Deal with your life as it comes, but don't be discouraged when it's tougher. Like we this podcast is just one easy to recognize thing, since people are obviously viewing it and that's how they're hearing us. It's just one thing that we can call out, that there's been plenty of setbacks. And look, it's not like I said already, we're not wildly famous. We're just getting better at it so that we can position ourselves to actually start really heavily promoting it. But there's so much other aspects of life that have yet to come upon us, that as long as we believe and we have a purpose that's worth working towards, then all of these things that happen to us in the meantime, are really just that. And believe me, man, like I had to apologize to my people, that are close to me on a daily basis, that I've been irritable lately, and I haven't been very productive on the level that I'm accustomed to. And you know, I have, let life set me back a couple times. Like sometimes I get momentum and I'm moving quickly through things and I'm getting stuff done. And sometimes, you just, whether for whatever reason, you lose your momentum, you get knocked back, or you get knocked off your course a little bit. And thankfully, that we have this level of public, accountability, I guess you could say, by making public declarations that we're going to do these things. We are going to build this channel. We are going to build this message. We're going to build this nonprofit. We're going to keep on doing what we say we're going to do, so that people will build more belief in us. And we're going to help this man get the stem cell treatment. He's only a child now, but he's going to be a man. He's going to look back on this, and he's going to be able to see that because of us being consistent and consistently asking for help, that we were able to get him some help. And then hopefully we'll build, a warrior that believes in helping others, and him as well. What I've learned, D-Rex, with this is that if you aren't afraid to fail, you can go through. I've had some seriously unsettling news, and I've never let any of this news make me think that like the end is near. I'm not going to. There are things that can happen. I can get sicker, but each time I get sick, as long as as long as I wake up, as long as I have this breath and this brain, I'm not quitting. And I might not play basketball as good as I used to. And Jay Brown, if you're in the audience, don't start clowning either.
Yeah. He is
me,
here.
me and Jay Brown were teammates against Fatty and Mez. Well, he was Matt Connor when we were back in this age, and me and Jay Brown were teammates, and Mez and Fatty, or Mez and sorry, not Mez, Roach and Matt were teammates, and they beat us way more than we beat them. And Jay Brown was way better than me, and that was the reason we kept losing for all those years. But so don't get the wrong impression. I don't have aspirations of getting to the NBA. But I did tell the doctor when he told me in Malaysia that I wasn't going to walk again. I was like, I'm not just going to walk again. I'm going to play basketball again. I'm going to hook again. I'm going to do it all again. And I'm not going to quit until I do. I'll never forget the day I woke up laying next to one of my all-time favorite humans and told her that I had a dream about living to be 158. And in that dream, I didn't remember much except for that I had 85 grandchildren. those numbers lasted, stuck with me. And like you said in the very beginning when you posed this, that you said that if you don't know how it's going to happen, sometimes the road just appears before you, right before you step onto it. I don't know how I'm going to make those numbers happen. But just like we talked about on the show here a few weeks ago about how ancient humans didn't necessarily, before they knew how to read and write, they were telling their stories to their children, and in the village, would gather, and the elder all believed the same stories, so they told the children the same stories, and that's how humans have progressed and gained, language and the ability to write, is by memorizing these stories and believing that if they followed the rules, that they could do things and that their life was worth something, And I truly do believe that all you folks that chipped in to save my life 5.5 years ago, I think you did a good thing, because I'm not going to stop until I help other people the way that you've helped me. So please come back every Thursday. Think of people that could use some help and send their story to nominations at hswa.org. The more purpose we have, the more opportunity you're going to give us to prove to you that what we're saying we're going to do, we're going to do. And remember, D-Rex, I was talking the other day about looking back. When we get to that huge party and we're passing that mic around and we've gotten busy living, I want to be able to look back and say that we brought guests on our show that shared their stories and gave us great advice, and that we had audience members that popped in on the screen and offered their advice, and that you and I were able to have impacts on each other and on them, and they impacted us. And we may not be perfect, but we put in some effort to learn from that, all this wisdom that we're hoping to collectively gather. I don't believe that there will be a collective failure. I believe that we will be able to say, man, look what, and look who, and look how. We don't know how we're going to do it, but we know that we are going to do it.
Yeah, I think that if we just keep putting all these principles into place that have proven themselves so far, you get somewhere. And that's actually what I want to ask people to do. Anybody who's here today is just sit down after this podcast and think about what it is you'd like to be doing in a year's time. What are your plans for yourself? And it doesn't, go ahead and let yourself dream big. Don't limit yourself. Just where would you like to be in a year? And then maybe don't think about the how for a while, but every day do something toward that thing. And then come on this podcast in a year and tell us how you've changed in a year.
Hell yeah. So that'll be verse 24:20.
Oh, yeah.
For those of you, including D-Rex, in case you don't know how these verses are numbered, this is the 20th episode of 2023. And last week was the 19th episode. So in 2024, verse 20, let's talk about what have we accomplished in a year. One call, 1 year later. I was telling you the other day that one of our most so I've in this humanities studies, I've done some psychology, studying as well. Something that always stood out to me is at some point along the way, I read that we have this part of our psyche is that we repeatedly allow ourselves to underachieve, and it becomes psychological setbacks for us because we don't think about what we can get in a year. We drastically overestimate how much progress we can make in 1 year, and we drastically underestimate how much progress we can make in a lifetime. So year after year, we're like, oh man, like as children, we think we can be supermen when we're teenagers, and then when we're teenagers, we think we can be super this when we're in our mid-20s, and by the time we get there, and we haven't, because we haven't thought about what we wanted to get and actually planned it out and thought about what's reasonable to achieve, we just kind of become constant underachievers. So don't allow yourself to do that, man. Like, just start thinking about what you want. You don't necessarily have to be able to achieve it in a year, but think reasonably about something that you can achieve and start trying to get there. And I bet 1 year from now, you'll be shocked at how much you actually can accomplish.
It certainly can't help. I mean, it can't hurt. I got distracted because this kitten was climbing on my stuff again. This is actually a different kitten. He just
I know. I was going to say, I thought that guy got rented out.
That guy did find a home, and now this guy is needing me. And now I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. Oh, yeah, I think that, a plan is good, but sometimes just moving forward every day is enough.
Did you see that signal?
Yes. So, I think that just moving forward can be something, I don't think it always has to be perfect. I think perfection, it often stops us. And worrying about getting something done in a year can seem like a mountain. But like you said, and like Jerry said, eat that elephant one bite at a time.
Yes, yes. And something that I was thinking about that I wanted to share is that don't try to do it alone. Even if it's just you're sharing the idea with someone, talk to somebody about it. Tell somebody what you want in a year, or that's what you want to accomplish, something you always want to move towards, and move towards it. Get busy going after it, and tell somebody that you're going to do it, and do it. If you want to, if it's a destination that you want to get to, or if it's an accomplishment you want to do in your business, or if you want to learn to paint. I bought myself a saxophone for my birthday this year, and I tried to play it recently, and it's very awkward for me because of the way my thumbs and my fingers are disabled. But I have it here, and I am going to learn this thing again. I've already learned how to play it when I was a child. I got 4 years collectively in my life on a saxophone, but it's been 25 years since I've touched one until I bought this one. And it's just something that I'm falling towards, but by telling folks that I'm going to do that, it helps me remain accountable, and I might not need somebody else to help me with the saxophone, but all these other things that I'm trying to accomplish, that we are trying to accomplish together, I'm relying on the help of others to help me be accountable. And then when I need help with things, to help me accomplish things. And the more people that you involve in your efforts, we've already talked about not being afraid to ask for help. One of my favorite episodes that we've done, since the beginning was the episode on being vulnerable, allowing yourself, to not know how to do everything, and asking for help and doing things. If you don't have anybody to ask that you see on a daily basis, I'm the easiest guy on earth to get a hold of. And I've been telling people all along, that I'm here. Don't be afraid to call me. I will answer, and I will help.
And that is very true. And I actually want to put this email up here because I want to let people know that if they want to reach out and talk about anything or say hello, you can email this address right here, and this guy will get back to you because that's what he does. I particularly enjoyed this little chat we had today. And I think that sometimes it's important to just sit here, me and you, and talk about the progress that's been made. I think it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal what we got done in the past year. And I'm just going to go ahead and pat us on the back.
Well, D-Rex, you know, I always enjoy our guests, but I always enjoy this opportunity to sit with you and just politic like this. I know that as our lives progress, we are both falling forward so that we can buy ourselves time out of our other engagements and allow us to focus more on this. I know as we fall forward and we find more time to focus on this, that we will be able to put you in front of more people. That is my ultimate goal. When I was saying in the very beginning of the show that about a year ago, I got this call and something happened that got stars in my eyes, it's because I've always known this about you, that you have this enthusiasm towards life and this fearlessness. And when it got to the point where you accepted my offer to do this with me, I knew that I was onto something. So thank you for years ago seeing something in me and encouraging me to do live streaming. And then thank you for a call a year ago to ask me how I was doing. And thank you for believing that I was going to do what I told you I was going to do, and that you believed enough to say you're going to put your hand in the pile. Because it doesn't take one person to start a movement. It takes two. And thank you for being the second person.
Well, I don't know of anybody who didn't believe that you were going to do what you said you were going to do.
Well, I hope that
what
all
you
of
do.
you guys, I hope that you're starting to catch on, folks. I hope you're starting to catch on. We're going to do this, and we can't do it without you. That's why, you know, I put on there that it takes a village. What we're trying to do is we're trying to help others get busy living in their lives. And as we move forward with this, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you know, one might say that we're all in this together.
As a matter of fact, always remember, no matter the weather, whether sunshine or rain, there's no joy without pain. Always remember, we're all in this together. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
It's great.
Thanks everybody for being here today. It certainly is.
But you gotta believe me, ain't nothing coming easy my way. No, I